The 5-Year Plan. Stalin tries to turn the Soviet Union into an industrial power, no matter the cost. By 1928, Stalin had a firm enough hold on power to take the country in a radical new direction. He decided it was time to transform the Soviet Union from a nation of peasants into a true industrial power. For decades, Soviet industry had lagged behind that of Western countries like Great Britain, Germany, and France. Peasants made up 3/4 of the population, and many of them still worked their fields with horse-drawn plows. Soviet power plants produced a fraction of the electricity generated in the West. Many factories still relied on human muscle instead of modern machines. As a result, the Soviet military lacked modern tanks, aircraft, and warships. Stalin was convinced that if the Soviet Union did not modernize, it would be an easy target for invasion by the capitalist countries of the West. We have fallen behind the advanced countries by 50 to 100 years, he warned. We must close the gap in 10 years. Either we do this or we'll be crushed. To close the gap, Stalin replaced the NEP with the Soviet Union's first 5-year plan. The new plan would once again put the government in control of all parts of the economy. Party workers would run factories, farms, and banks. The central government would set goals for everything the Soviet people produced, from steel to schools. To support his industrial boom, Stalin needed cash to buy machines and other technology for more advanced countries. To raise the cash, he proposed selling massive amounts of grain overseas. That was bad news for Soviet peasants. They already struggled to harvest enough surplus food to meet the government's demands. Now they would be forced to produce even more. To squeeze more food out of the countryside, Stalin completely reorganized the way peasants lived and worked. In 1929, he began to push millions of peasants off their land and onto kolkhozes, huge collective farms run by the government. The collectives, Stalin claimed, would allow the party to manage agricultural production more efficiently. Confining peasants to the kolkhozes would also make it easier to police the countryside. Under close supervision by the party, peasants would have trouble organizing protests or hoarding food. The government recruited 25,000 industrial workers and sent them into the countryside to oversee collectivization. But they soon discovered that the peasants weren't giving in without a fight. Families slaughtered millions of their precious cattle, sheep, and horses rather than surrender them to collective farms. Some villagers took up their shotguns and pitchforks and attacked the party workers. Women thresh grain on a collective farm. Millions of Soviet lives were devastated during forced collectivization. Stalin sent in secret police units to crush the uprisings. The police often singled out the families of defiant peasants and executed them on the spot as a warning to their neighbors. Don't be afraid to take extreme measures, one party leader commanded his brigade of enforcers. Comrade Stalin expects it out of you. It's a life and death struggle. Other communists, though, were horrified by what they were being ordered to do. I am an old Bolshevik, one secret police officer complained. I worked in the underground against the Tsar, and then I fought in the Civil War. Did I do all that in order that I should now surround villages with machine guns and order my men to fire into crowds of peasants? Oh, no, no, no.